What's up, and welcome to your first look and hands-on with the Galaxy S21. So right at the top of the year, Samsung is coming out swinging. Now I also have a video about the S21, and that's 21 Plus dropping at the same time here, so that'll be the first link below the like button. Check it out if you're interested. But this is the big dog, so we kind of know what to expect at this point from Samsung's new ultra high-end phones, right? So that's 21 Ultra will start at $1,200. So it should be. That's what they can offer. But just to look back for a second, S20 Ultra, this phone last year was kind of a whiff. I mean, it still did have a lot of the high-end Ultra numbers that you look for, but because of the focus issues with the camera, it was just never something you quite recommended. It got passed on a lot for the money. So, the S21 Ultra books to get them back to the best of everything world, with a lot of next-gen parts and pieces. Now right off the bat, first thing you notice is the biggest change, which is they've packed everything in this new design, so we might as well just start with that. So I got the handle these in the matte black, and this sort of silver color, so it looks just like the leaks and the rumors we're expecting. And I think I like it. Now I don't know if I love it. I'm still on the train that sort of a horizontal camera bump like Nexus 6P was actually kind of peak, but the more I look at this contour cut design, the more futuristic it looks to me. It kind of looks like someone was making a thicker phone with the huge cameras, and then just melted it down to a thinner body for the rest of the phone. It's kind of hard to explain. It basically looks like Harvey Dent-like to face, but on the smaller models, it actually has a cool color contrast model with the side rails, but I talked more about that in that video on the Ultra. It's all matte across the entire back, which I love, and then shiny on the sides. So speaking of those cameras, we've got 4 here on the back of the Ultra. It's a new 2nd gen 108 megapixel main camera with OIS at f1.8, very curious to see how that'll shoot. Then you've got a 12 megapixel ultra wide, which should be pretty sweet at 120 degrees, and then 2 telephoto cameras. You've got 3x telephoto, and a 10x periscope lens, so this is an interesting zoom situation. I was playing with the phone, trying to imagine why they would do it like this. I think Samsung's probably done the math on, well, most people either zoom in a little bit, or like all the way. And so I guess if they're just getting a 3x, and then the 10x will facilitate the space zoom that goes really far. My curiosity is, how will it do in between 3x and 10x? We'll have to see. But if you go on the camera app, it looks very familiar. It's the Samsung stuff. All these zoom buttons are still here, but I can see you can go all the way from that 3x to 10x, and it's doing digital zoom in between those two numbers. Then from 10x on, it's coming from the periscope lens, and space zoom is still here, so you can go all the way to 100 on the Ultra, and it's right off the bat actually looking much more stable than the last gen, which is actually pretty nice. There's also some improvements to the higher end modes, like a director's view for more control over live switching between the cameras and recording from multiple cameras at once, and it's also multi-device recording for both phones, mics and your headphone likes at the same time, and improved single tech mode. So cool stuff here. We all know the Ultra and Samsung's lineup is supposed to have the top of the line cameras, and this is the best they can offer, and you can even see the laser autofocus here, so I'm almost surprised they didn't toss in a macro camera to sort of fill up the space and make an even grid. But hey, it's the periscope lens taking up that space instead, begging to be tested. So yeah, lots of new camera parts, so it'll be interesting to see how these perform. Definitely make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, to be among the first to see the review when it comes out. We can test these things. But enough about the back of the phone. Let's talk about the front. So it's a big phone, of course, it's the Ultra, and that allows for a huge 6.8-inch Quad HD OLED display, and this time it's Quad HD at 120 Hz. So you can see here in the settings it's at the 1440p resolution, and motion smoothness is also set to adaptive up to 120 Hz, so that's sweet. But also this new adaptive refresh rate on the Ultra is new, and it will automatically constantly be switching all the way up and down between 10 Hz and 120 Hz, so that should help save a lot of battery in this adaptive mode. It'll be really interesting to test to see how responsive it is, and to see how much battery it saves. So you imagine when you're not really doing anything on the display, nothing's moving, it throttles all the way down to 10 Hz. I'm curious if that can bring it to the same battery life or close to the regular 60 Hz mode. I'm not too worried about overall battery life. The phone does still have a 5000 mAh battery. So, not concerned about being bad. I'm just more curious if it can be amazing. I also love that the display is nearly flat. It is slightly rounded at the very edges, but not nearly as much as I've seen in other phones, which makes me happy. And there is the small cutout at the top for the ridiculous 40 megapixel selfie camera. And I also dropped Qualcomm's new much larger, and hopefully faster in-display fingerprint sensor back there. It's 1.77 times larger than the last gen and I'm hoping less finicky, and the display's max brightness is now up to 25% brighter up to 1500 nits. And there's a new AI-based blue light shield option for better viewing comfort. If you're into that. But yeah, everything else you're looking at here is right in line with what you'd expect from the 2021 Samsung flagship. Great build quality, it's IP68 water resistant. The news internals of course with the 5nm Snapdragon 888 in this region. It'll be the 5nm Exynos chip and other regions which will be interesting again to test to see how it fares with battery 15-watt wireless charging. There's reverse wireless charging to great buttons, tiny bezels, the whole thing. One interesting spec though, that is missing. There is no expandable storage anymore. The micro SD card isn't basically going extinct now. Samsung has some of the last ones to do it in their flagships. So there are only 3 specs for total storage on the spot: 128, 256 or 512 gigs. And then so unlike the smaller S21 and S21 Plus, there's different amounts of RAM on these versions. So those all will have 8 gigs of RAM on the Ultra. You start at 12 gigs of RAM for the 128 and 256. And if you go with the tip-top half a terabyte max spec, that'll have 16 gigs of RAM. So you're trading your expandable storage for a lot of RAM, I guess. Also, speaking of things that are gone, no headphones or charger in the box confirmed. Like I've warned you, this is gonna start happening very quickly across the industry. iPhone 12 was a huge domino to fall. So now, don't expect a power brick and a flagship phone from here on out. But last thing, let's talk about the S Pen. It was added to the S21 Ultra. S Pen support now. Okay. A lot of people saw this in the rumors leading up to this and thought, oh, that probably means the Galaxy Note is on its way out. Maybe they'll kill it soon. I don't think so. This is just coming from my hour and playing with the phone. The stylus on the S21 Ultra feels like a very optional, add-on accessory, where on the Galaxy Note, while it's still an integral part of the Note experience, and it's just there in very different worlds. So first of all, like I said, it's an optional $40 accessory, so if you want to buy an S Pen for your S21 Ultra, it'll cost you. And then it's actually compatible with other S Pens of the past, so if you have one already, you can carry that too. But the whole experience is passive, so the whole low latency writing and drawing experience is all the same. But there's no Bluetooth or gesture controls, like you would have on the Note. And then of course there's the whole how do you carry it question, since there's no silo built into the phone. So that's another optional accessory, so you can get a stylus and a case for now $70 extra, and the phone sort of just clicks into this rubber slot in the side of the case, which is fine, I guess, but it's definitely a very optional accessory. And so if you're going to go through all of that and spend extra money to have a stylus on your high-end Samsung phone, I feel like the obvious choice is to buy a Note, where it slots in perfectly and neatly every time, charges, has the active experience, has more features. And of course there will be a Note 21 Ultra. I guess it's not an of course thing. I'm predicting there will be a Note 21 Ultra that people wanting a stylish consider later this year. So I don't think the Note's going anywhere, but that's basically it for the new S21 Ultra. What do you think? Is this enough of a redemption? I mean, you get the huge numbers again, you get a lot of next-gen pieces. It seems to be going in the right direction. There is of course the S21 and S21 Plus launching alongside it on January 29th. But if we're going to spend the big bucks, is what you're going to get. And they've also launched smart tags and Galaxy Buds Pro, so Samsung's clue would pop it off right at the beginning of the year. But let me know what you think. Is this the one you guys would pick, or would you go for one of the other S21 models? Let me know. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one.